Hello and welcome to Galactic Goddess Podcast. I'm your host, Rada Nelia, coming to you now through video. This has been in the works for a while, and I have the incredible evolutionary astrologer Sarah Paasch on today because we are in the mix of things astrologically. So much going on. Sarah, what's happening?
What's not happening? Today's a really good day to actually do this because Mercury, the planetary messenger of the gods, is super active today. Mercury in Scorpio made a beautiful trine to Neptune early this morning and a little edgy, tough square to Mars later this morning. So all of the energy, both of our lower active will and our drive to act and do something, that restlessness, that impulsiveness of Mars. I don't know if everybody knows, but Mars is officially out of shadow period, which means he's full speed ahead. And we haven't had that energy since before early May of this year. So we're fully online as far as action goes, and we can feel that. I can feel that for sure. Just I want to do something. And then also needing to make sure that it's aligned to Neptune, our higher will, the greater vision that we have. And with the Venus retrograde, we're just under so much review as far as our hearts go, our values, our self-worth, relationships, and how we're showing up and all of that. And on top of that, there's this beautiful full moon coming up in Taurus on Wednesday. And there's going to be this grand cross with the nodes. The North Node in Leo is about to shift out. We've been here for 18 months and it's been all about coming clear with our hearts. And now it's time to make the move, it's time to finally make the decision and really just commit full-heartedly to what it is that we've been building and manifesting, for the last 18 months. We've been who am I and who am I really, you know what I mean? And what do I really, really want? Becoming clear on that. And then we are at this point of crossroads. It feels significant in the way of there is this little internal pressure. We want to know, because it feels like it matters, because I think it does. I think we're closing so many chapters and at the same time opening so many chapters. And the astrology is telling us that the way you can know if you're making the right choice at this crossroads, at this point of change, is do something different. So the Uranian energy of just, it's time to just do something radically different. I want to let you speak to the questions because I can tie this into the questions I know that have been coming up right now with some of the viewers and listeners.
That's right. We do have coming in. One person says, well, I'm dealing with a lot of confusion and adversity in dating, fairly extreme, dramatic. Is that Venus retrograde? Should I refrain from dating at all until it's over? What should I be doing? So that's one of the questions that came in. And we are in the middle of Venus retrograde. So that understanding, and you can add on to this, but we're reviewing sort of the past and looking at how maybe past relationships worked, what didn't work, what we liked, what we didn't, and really ultimately what we're in alignment with right now. We've all been elevating who we are at the core of our being, and now we're just this is what I want, and I don't want to go back into old patterns and old pain, and maybe even coming into relationships with a new perspective, coming in with a new understanding of the self, because you cannot have an understanding of someone else unless you have an understanding of yourself. And I think that we've been getting so much opportune time to really work and rework parts of ourselves and look into them, which have been a catalyst for healing in so many levels. But would you mind, jumping into this question? If you want me to repeat it, I can repeat it again for you.
Yeah, will you repeat it just one more time, just so I make sure that I'm clear?
He says, well, I'm dealing with a lot of confusion and adversity in dating, fairly extreme, dramatic. Is that Venus retrograde? Should I refrain from dating at all until it's over? And what should I be doing? Is what she asked.
Okay, yeah. First of all, I don't want to say that you should refrain from dating at all when Venus is retrograde. retrograde. It's definitely not a time to make huge commitments as far as relationships go, in the sense if it feels confusing or if it feels extreme in that way. I mean, that's just from an outside perspective in any time in our lives. If we're really emotionally charged on something or really confused, then it's a call to like go inward and sit with what's coming up before you make a decision. But it's everything right now is a mirror. So it's like, I think what we have to ask ourselves, like I'm getting this image of these two doors. And it's like every situation is showing us something. It's showing us either something new that we've called in because we've been working on ourselves, we've been getting clear on what we want, and now these desires are showing up, these opportunities, these people, like it's here and it's showing up. So when we call it in, and it like dissolves suddenly, or something, just suddenly just doesn't work out for some reason, or it comes in but then it just doesn't stay, then that might be a mirror for you to see, like, what inside of me do I still need to look at? What limiting beliefs am I having that restrict me from receiving that? So that's where Venus retrograde is like, what are your patterns in relationship where fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of, I mean, honestly, fear of happiness, you know what I mean? Fear of losing something that we have could maybe be preventing you from really, welcoming in the new things. And then I think the other door is like, is it familiar? Is this person or situation or opportunity, is this something you've in the last year kind of moved away from? Or even in Venus retrograde cycles in the last 8 years, if you look to 8 years ago, what was happening in October 2010, October, November 2010 in your life, that's the last time Venus was retrograde in Scorpio. It's like, what kind of relationship or situation or opportunities were you, like, what was your lesson? And then how is it applying here? And what have you been getting rid of? Like, I know for me, there's been so much change in the last year and so many patterns. We've worked through so many patterns, and there's been a lot of loss of relationship in the sense of just getting more aligned, because we're allowing ourselves to really just belong to where we do belong on a soul level, and not just where we were maybe like conditioned to believe we belong, or where an ego like surface level need to belong was driving. So if this person's familiar in a way, or the situation, this opportunity, it's like, this is something I've turned away, but now it suddenly looks like maybe it'll work. Like, that might be a test. Like, if you've done the hard work of walking away from something that was no longer serving you because you became more aligned to your truth, and now here it is again, take a look at that. Like, and can you use the strength and the courage of conviction to like stay committed to that new path? And I think that it's just very clear. Like, it's very like, all the old is coming in and all the new is coming in, and we're simultaneously having to really sit and filter and say, like, what is really like what I want? So getting clear with yourself, like just to what you said, Radha, about we have to know ourselves. We have to be clear on who we are when we're showing up and what we want. If you're really clear on that, it's going to help you discern more about, if it's a receiving problem or if it's a letting go problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so beautiful. I think we've been getting so many upgrades, and we've been changing patterns through this whole entire year, and we're almost at the end of it. Has been a culmination of really reactivating, I think, so much of the truth of who we are, and releasing so much of what we're not. Like the victim, right? The victim energy keeps flaring up a lot, and people are always feeling victimized. And so, this is an opportunity to say, like, I'm no longer going to play into those patterns of being a victim. I'm not, if this situation felt like, put me in a position where I felt like a victim before, I'm not going to actively participate in that. Or coming from a place of, I'm no longer a victim, and now who are you now that I'm not a victim, right? So we're really shifting our roles. We're not playing out the same patterns, and yet we're getting an opportunity. We're also getting an opportunity to say, this is time for closure, and I'm ready to close the door. Because like here, she says, well, they've been coming in very quickly and then retreating and leaving for good. She says it's been very jarring, very negative, very dramatic, like 3 different past lovers, and it's a lot of finality.
Yeah.
She's like wondering what to do with that, or what's right for her. And I, and for me, I would say that you hear
Because,
that?
yeah, the just got, I was like, wait, what did you say?
Like feels like there's like
Yeah.
trust the process, like allow
Yeah.
allow finality, because there's something beautiful about totally closing a door, because when you close a door, another door is going to open. You don't have to feel like you have to keep all your doors open. You're not a revolving door. You don't need a revolving door. Like, please shut the doors that no to the past, because that's a lot of energy that you're still
Yes, the leaking. I think what's important too is like how we close the door. So I think that that's a big pattern that's been showing itself to me. Is I'm watching these chapters close, and these patterns, like these old identities. I'm like literally watching this movie reel of me and these things closing, and I can see that the part of the reason they weren't fully closed was because of the way I needed to close them, was because of needing to be either that victim or resentful, or still holding on to some sort of like black and white me versus you. Like I have to be angry in order to feel good about closing that. And I think that's really big right now, is it's like you need to use the fuel of your intention to move forward, of your future that you're moving towards, of the new you that you've been cultivating, really connecting to your higher self and saying like, I want to close this door from that perspective. And I want to close from the vantage point of knowing like, I'm just no longer there. And that's perfectly okay. And there doesn't need to be any deep, dark reason to why that chapter closed. It's just not my reality anymore, and we've moved on. And to still wish well for the other side of that door, to like walk, like I was listening to another astrologer talk about closing chapters as well this week, is because I think this week it's like we're seeing all these other doors open, and it's like you can't walk through the new doors until you close the old doors, and you can't walk through the new doors until you give yourself permission to say, I am here and I am ready, and I'm going to walk through the door, but like with integrity. And what he said was like talking about like when people die, we have funerals. You know what I mean? So it's like when we close a chapter, like treating it with integrity in that way and like reverence. David Palmer, the Leo King, he has a great podcast up this week on, or not podcast, but Deep Astrology. It's like a great hour-long thing on YouTube. I would totally recommend people check that out too.
Cool. So, like you said, yes, closing things with integrity, and that's a pattern that I noticed for myself personally that I have been releasing. Is like having to be angry at someone forever, or like I'm so angry at you, and therefore I can. It's like that's how I would use that fuel to shut down that connection, and like as we're evolving, we're realizing like in order for me to truly release karmic ties, I'm willing to forgive you, and I'm forgiving you for me, so I can unravel the other thing. Because if we hate somebody, it's like, I hate you, right?
Yeah, you're bound to them.
And it's like you're married to that, and it's, I don't want to be married to anybody that I'm not married to. I only want to be married to my divine love, wherever he is. So, I don't want to I don't want to have tendrils of resentment, because it hurts me, and it's not the way to go. You can close the door and be like, thank you for the lessons, thank you for the love, thank you for everything. I know I've grown because of you. Yes, maybe it hurt, but I'm choosing a higher path for myself, really, so I can open a new door, so I can be open, so I can be free. And I don't want to be imprisoned with all of this baggage. Okay? You don't want that.
Well, and that comes from being imprisoned in an identity that you no longer are in, right? Like that's like you aren't there anymore. So it's really just getting clear and not feeding that story. And I actually had a very like real lived experience of this where I had a conversation with somebody who there was a falling out over a year ago, and I was very close to this person, loved them very dearly. And we talked, and I was like listening to them explain their side of the story and their pain. And I had this ability, because I was so clear with myself and where I am currently, that I could validate their experience, because the truth is that pain is true for them. And their version of the story is their truth. And because I'm not in a place where I am still hurt and I am still holding on to that, I can let that be. And I can know that like there's space for that to be true, and there's space for mine to be true. And we don't need to get into the nitty gritty, and we don't need to dissect it. And we don't need to analyze it, and we don't need to do that. And that's where, if we're having difficulty letting go, it's because there's a part of us that still is holding on out of fear, that like out of an insecurity or a fear about ourselves, you know, like we're still self-protecting in some way. And that's where it's just like getting clear on where you are and where you're going, and really connecting to that higher self. I mean, having the integrity and just trusting, you know, like coming from that place that's like, I can let this go, because it doesn't even, it's not my reality. Like, it's not my reality. And that's a beautiful thing to come to terms with and have acceptance around. And it's not an overnight thing. It takes our consistent, committed, just intention to really hold that. So have your daily practices, surround yourself with people that are mirrors for where you are and where you're going, and continue making decisions that call you forward in the things that you need to focus on the things that you are developing, on the new opportunities. I mean, radical doors, radical changes, like Uranian energy. It's time to just revolutionize the way you do you, and the way you do love, and the way you do everything. And now's the time. So I hope that covers like the questions for the astrology today. I know that there's so much going on for everybody, and I'd love to come on and do another podcast or another session with you. And I'm also offering readings. I have tons of readings available right now, specifically for Venus retrograde, looking at your Venus, your natal Venus, and also the Venus retrograde specifically in your chart. I'm doing full moon readings. I have relationship readings, chart comparisons, where you can kind of get more mutual understanding of like where do we trigger each other, and like how can we work with that with more understanding and awareness. So yeah, if people are looking for some guidance or some help there, like I'm here, like check out my website, DM me on Instagram. Yeah, I will reach out.
Which is incredible. It's so much fun. Whoa, do you hear that?
Yeah, the energy is like a vortex.
This is where the podcast is. Everybody wants to be here right now. So thank you so much, Sarah. It's always wonderful talking to you. And before we sign off, I just wanted to tell everyone, like, I know there's so much changing in your life. A lot of people, like, their realities, like, are almost, like, unveiling. Things are coming down around them. But just because things are coming down in your life, what you perceive coming down, really just think of it as a renewal. Anything that's not aligned for you is leaving. Let it go. Do not hold on to the past. It's time for you to really get centered in here, knowing that the center of your universe is right here, and connected to your higher self. In doing that, you are the foundation, and you can allow things to go with grace and ease. And a lot of people have been telling me there's so many changes in their life, jobs, like things are just like going out the door that they never expected, and relationships and all kinds of stuff. So, hold on to the truth of who you are. When love is the only thing that's real, hold on to that. Know that, there are a lot of illusions in this world, and it's our time to unmask and to see things as they are. And that is coming from a place of love. So my final word would just be like, look through the eyes of love and you will see more clearly. Okay?
I love that. Thank you, Radha. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. So much love to all of you. Thank you, Sarah. We love you and appreciate you. And until
yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.